Hello, my loves. I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel, where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And on this video, I wanted to talk about energetic resilience, right, and narcissistic abuse, because this is a term I've been using, but I want to explain what it means. So when I use our energy, right, is the most important thing. And our energy is made up of basically our dominant vibration, how we feel overall, right? And it's beyond just our emotions. So I could be feeling sad, but my energetic field could be actually at peace. I could just be processing the sadness. But like our dominant vibration is the most important thing. But it's going to be made up basically of our thoughts, our emotions, and like what's going on in our field, i.e., unresolved traumas, unresolved wounds. We're more than just what we're thinking and feeling right now is what I'm saying. We have a whole energy field, right? And the narcissist, as I keep saying, like works in the psychic realms, which means that they know what's unhealed in you and they target it. Yeah. So when we have energy leaks, right? And energy leaks are just like places where our energy field isn't resilient, yeah, and we're more vulnerable, the narcissist latches onto those energy leaks and makes them worse, basically. So what does this mean and how do you solve it? What it means is, like, so for example, you would have experienced this in, say you're talking to someone, yeah, and they're just like hitting on something that's hitting a nerve in you. You've got an energy leak there. Maybe it's causing self-doubt. Maybe it's causing anxiety. Maybe it's taking you back to a similar experience in your past where you felt very, very vulnerable or scared, right? There's an energy leak there. There's something in our energy system that we need to make more robust, right? So that it can't be preyed on. Narcissists do two things, well, more than two things, but as far as our energy goes, they prey on what's unhealed in us, the existing traumas in our energy field, which, as I say, it's not just what we're conscious of, right? It's what we haven't dealt with and we're suppressing. And they plant seeds in our subconscious mind, which I talk about a lot. So they plant fears. They plant ideas that are negative. They plant lower consciousness ideas in our subconscious that basically lowers our vibration and puts our energy field sometimes into a collapse. So one of the things I do in my program Sovereign with people is teach you every day how to like push your aura out, strengthen your aura, right? So you're less penetrable because they collapse your aura, which is like kind of your energy field that is around you. So what do we need to know and what do we need to do? One is, right, a strong energy field is often when we're in our own energy, right? When we're in our own consciousness, where we're not we're not letting the outside world really influence us too much on our core values and beliefs, right? But we've got to have strong beliefs and strong resolved energy to start with. So what does that mean? It means that we've got to have processed what's unhealed in us. If everything in the world triggers us or we keep getting the same repeat experiences, right, then there's something going on with our energy. And our energy field is what equals our dominant vibration. And our dominant vibration is what attracts everything into our life, not just our thoughts and emotions. They are part of what makes up our frequency, our whole energy body, right? So most of us aren't aware of the subconscious programming and energy leaks we've got going on, yeah, that a narcissist can easily spot, because we're just like, well, I always think great. I'm thinking great thoughts. I'm always positive, right? But underneath that, yeah, we might be constantly triggered by something or in a quite depressed feeling a lot of the time, because when we're not fighting against that, what's underneath, right? What's underneath that keeps getting triggered when we're low or when certain things happen? What are our repeat patterns? What do we keep attracting into our life? A very, very good way to tell what is our dominant vibration is what we keep attracting. Yeah, not everything in your life that comes to you is you manifesting it. I keep teaching that too, that it's a universe of everything. Yeah. But when we keep getting repeat patterns, more than likely we've got to resolve something in us as well. if we keep getting the same types of people, the same kind of emotions, the same kind of patterns coming up. Patterns are what we need to look at, yeah? And they can be really depressing sometimes when we feel like, crikey, I thought I'd healed this, and there a familiar pattern comes in. And it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. Sometimes as we expand, we get shown like what's left to be healed, and there's different levels of healing different traumas, to be honest. So like when I teach people how to heal trauma, it's like as much as your body can do in the particular process you're using to heal it, right? But as you go through life, there may be more coming up, right, as it gets reignited by different circumstances, or by you shifting your identity into a newer version of you, right? So I also teach a sequence in Sovereign that you can do every day to keep your energy strong and clean and be in your own vibration. Because if you start the day off well, right, with a strong aura, and you've kind of like conditioned your energy already, not just protected it, because like I teach people all the time, like we don't want to go around this planet in defense, which is like, I'm so scared of everything, I'm going to avoid everything, isolate, and just be on my guard, right? We want to be enjoying our lives, right? But we can't if we feel at risk that people can derail us all the time, yeah? And the reason people can really get to us is because we've got unhealed trauma. We've got bits we haven't quite resolved. We haven't quite come into our own sovereign self yet, which is a life journey for a lot of us, right? Getting into more and more layers of that. But we have to know that like energetic resilience, when we're energetically resilient, we're kind of in our own bubble. Yeah, we're not scared of what someone might say or do. We're in touch with our guidance system. So I haven't got to sit there. I see sometimes there's questions on the channel about, what do you think this person said this? I don't know if they're a narcissist. Well, when you're really energetically resilient and strong and in your own energy, you're very connected to your own intuition, right? When your aura's collapsed, your energy field is weak, and you've got loads of energy leaks, you're not connected to your intuition, right? You're more reactive to what's going on outside of you and your past, basically. You're repeating past patterns. Yeah, you're not kind of reset in the moment and aware of your senses so well. So we want to be very aware of our senses, so we can feel when someone's trying to pull us into an old cycle, a negative belief system, or something that's not actually true to us, right? And we can easily reject it rather than be offended by it or scared by it, which is what happens when most of us are on tenterhooks, because we've been kind of beaten down by narcissists a lot. So when we know how to manage our own energy in a really good way, right? Build up our emotional and energetic resilience, but also capacity. I teach this all the time. I teach it in Sovereign. Like it's about being resilient energetically, but also building up emotional and energetic capacity, so we can actually do more in life and be around more people and not have to live in fear that they could really hurt us really quickly. Because the more we do the healing work and we release traumas, right, the more capacity we have to be around more responsibilities, more people, more pressures, more things, more potential pressures, because the more we let into our life, it could be potentially more pressure without it swaying us, because we've got a very strong field, we've got very strong core beliefs. You know, we're not responding and reactive in the same way. Yeah. We're not reactive to what someone thinks of us. We know who we are. We're not insecure in the same way. No one can push us into anxiety in the same way. We've healed all those wounds. We're not scared of being abandoned by that person. We're not scared of being disliked by that person. We're not looking for them for validation. We've already validated ourselves. And if they're not able to have a beautiful communication where we get to say how we feel and honour how they feel, if they're going to get offended or nasty or whatever about that, we're not going to take it personally anymore, you see. Right? But that all comes from doing like enough personal development work really and healing to be resilient and managing our energy at all times, which means that when I'm feeling depleted or low, I know I've got to actually take care of myself. I might need to leave an environment or leave a situation or go to the restroom, you know, if I'm at work, just take a breather. And actually I've got tools for this as well that I teach people, but actually like just come into my body again, process what's going on, bring consciousness and awareness to it, so I can look at the situation objectively and not be re-triggered and re-traumatized every time someone hits a nerve, but also be aware of working to strengthen the parts of me that were like kind of more vulnerable to being triggered and me being reactive in ways that don't suit me overall, because of course all trauma, right? I do think overall when we act from a trauma response, often we may make the same decisions, right? We might, I've done things as a trauma response that I probably would have done differently if it hadn't been a trauma response. But overall, the behavior was coming from the right place in me, right? Because like when we don't process our trauma, it just builds up, and then the trauma response is fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, yeah? And all of those are protection mechanisms, right? So there's nothing they're not exactly wrong in themselves, right? But it's because something's got so intense, right, that we're taking a more extreme reaction to it because it's been building up and we haven't processed, right, early on enough. And in the end, your body will get you out of a situation or fight back or just freeze up so that you just don't deal with it, or fawn someone because you feel unsafe and you think by fawning them, which just means like people pleasing, like trying to get them to like you at different levels, that you'll be safe. Trauma responses are just the body taking over and saying we need to actually look after our safety now, yeah? And you're going to have a response to that. But like what we want to be doing is processing the trauma, right? And still taking the action. I teach people all the time in Sovereign, right? It's not, all emotions are messengers. So it's not like I just process all my trauma and heal all my emotions, although I've got systems for that, right, that will help you with that. You've still got to listen to the message, right? Because otherwise it often does get to like the point where you just want to, get out of somewhere or do something a lot more extreme, which isn't wrong in itself necessarily always, right? But you could probably do it better from a more balanced place, right? Still, the message could be you need to get out of here. When you want to fight with someone, it's because your boundaries are being crossed, right? You want to state your case. You want to say, but there's better ways of doing it than when you're really traumatized and reactive and aren't in control of yourself and the situation the way that you might want to be. When we fawn, we're really creating a very unhealthy dynamic where we're people pleasing, we're trying to be liked, we're pandering to someone, right? Getting very submissive and sometimes over affectionate or over nice to someone because we don't think our needs are going to be met and we think we need them to meet our needs, right? But it's a very dangerous dynamic where we'll always have to be under someone else's authority. And freeze is like, my body just can't take this, yeah? I'm frozen, I'm paralyzed. The challenge with that, when it gets to that point with us, is like, we can't take any action. We're living in overwhelm and often procrastination. So it really does like block our movement and block our flow and just like, a lot of people, I think the majority of the time in traumatic situations are just in permanent freeze. Yeah, that's what we do. We just shut down. Yeah, but what that does is it shuts down our evolution, it shuts down our growth, it shuts down our movement towards actually what we do want. So it is important to go into understand what we're really feeling, be really honest with ourselves, stop trying to fix ourselves, stop trying to push past it, stop trying to get the other person to do what you want or fix them or explain to them if they're a narcissist. That will never work, right? Be absolutely straight with yourself in terms of, this is not good for me, what do I need to do next? Right? What movement do I need to take? How do I need to protect myself, given that they are who they are if you're dealing with a narcissist who will not change, right? So like trying to explain to a narcissist, trying to fix a narcissist is definitely not the answer. If you are, because I see some comments about dating and things like that, I can go into other videos on that if you want me to. But like the biggest thing is, right, being discerning. Just being discerning. You can't tell from one interaction what someone's like half the time, but you don't want to overinvest either. So a lot of us gush when we meet someone that we think we like. Don't gush, don't overinvest. Watch the video I did on trusting people after narcissistic abuse, because there's some really powerful strategies that will apply to if you are dating and meeting new people in that. And I definitely will do more videos on this if you like the topic. But just basically take your time, be discerning. Don't overinvest too soon. Observe that person as well, like not in a way that you're just testing them, but in a way that you're getting to know someone at a rational pace. Often after narcissistic abuse, like we have been love bombed, rushed into relationships, been part of forced relationships that we've been forced into. Maybe they're our family of origin, or love bombed and gone too fast in a relationship, faster than actually our boundaries were, because we got like so emotionally hijacked in it. So it's all about discernment. It's all about being healed enough not to know that if someone, to know that if someone behaves in a certain way that you don't like, you're going to be able to speak your boundaries. Or if it's not a relationship that you, someone that you know very well, I would say don't try and fix that person. You can say like about the behavior, but just keep observing. Take your time is the biggest thing in relationships going forward, in order to manage our energy and notice where things are making you feel those trauma responses or those old emotional imbalances, and then go inward again and like really think about where that's coming from, right? So that you can heal it. Yeah. So that you can be with it, so that you can process it rather than suppress it or be confused about the other person. Because again, after narcissistic abuse, we are so focused on the narcissists in our lives, what they're doing, what they're going to do next, is it a narcissist, all this stuff. But what we have to do is self-focus and self-partner. The whole relationship is about the narcissist. This is about coming into ourselves. Why am I feeling this way? What did they say? What did they do? How did it make me feel? What does it remind me of, right? What parts of me is that triggering that feel unsafe here? Why do I feel unsafe? Because sometimes if someone's triggering something in us, it's not actually, it could just be triggering something that's unhealed in us from someone else. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do the same thing, but we want to actually sit with that and notice things. It's about being the observer and taking our time, right? And then if you do say, look, I felt a bit uncomfortable the other day because I found it a bit intrusive when you were asking me all about my past relationship. I don't think we know each other well enough for that. See how they respond. A narcissist, you'll know very quickly because they won't like a boundary. But how people respond to your emotional needs is a really big telltale sign. And of course, you have to remember, you can't expect someone. So again, if we're unhealed, what we tend to do is expect someone to meet our emotional needs way too early in a relationship, right? Because we're like little lost children sometimes when we're very codependent and we're looking for someone for security and love and support and validation. So you want to be mindful of agreeing terms to relationships, agreeing the pace of a relationship, and not just dumping all your emotional baggage and your emotional needs on someone too soon. You've got to be self-partnered, and if you want a healthy relationship, responsible for your own emotional needs as well. There's a balance to this. There's a journey to it, and it's different with every single other person and every single situation. So if you want private coaching on that, I'm here for it. You can join Sovereign. As I say, the price is going up 1st of October. We've got our next live coaching call on a week on Sunday. Lots of love, guys. I'll speak to you soon.